game where like this is good? Question mark.
But I will be on my deathbed and I'll be
Thinking
like,
about that platform.
why? I could have been playing anything else.
It feels so good.
No.
Get out of here. Throughout my whole playthrough, I was somewhere between bored and just mad.
This game, man. You can't just break the rules every screen.
How dare you, hamburger music? Like, I'm gonna take offense to that.
For some reason, this game like has a home in my brain and will never leave.
Fuck this game. I'm gonna beat it because I fucking hate it.
Every time I talk about this game, I sound insane. I need to do drugs. I'm a Birdman. The homing gun to shoot the lobsters.
Why are the blocks there? Why does anything exist, you know? Like, why does this game exist?
So you're trying to tell me that you think this is a joyless piece of shit?
I think this game is very, very good. One of the best games I played this year for sure.
No, dude.
Alrighty, everyone. Hello and welcome to a very special edition. Not a Christmas edition, not a Halloween edition, but a Weeb edition of Seriously Casual Video Game Book Club. Holden, Darth,
Hey,
Colin, no
Good.
Chris, no Super. How you gentlemen doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm
Yeah, doing good.
stoked.
Excited.
Yeah, so we are
Yeah.
here, the four of us. We have played Metaphor, ReFantazio, a recent release. So this will be our first like new game, like super new. What did it come out in October?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Our
Something like
latest
that,
and
yeah.
newest game ever.
yeah, and it,
Surprised literally everyone but me.
yeah, it really did fucking surprise me. I was like, yeah, Xbox exclusive, weird fucking SMT game, and I was like, wait, that's not what it is at all. But yeah, the game so sick. Like, I'm not even. We're not here to hide our reviews. We're not here to give our judgment. I'm pretty sure we all fucking love this game.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have like a definitive 2024 favorite games listing, but this is easily top contender.
Yeah, 2020,
Yeah, same.
2024 kind of had some slappers though, like for real, for
Mhm.
real. But yeah, a game's so good that we decided to do a book club about it. Kind of to fill some time in it. We've had a gap a little bit because what was it? Dragon Quest, Rocket Slime, and now Colin, I apologize. Is it Nox?
It's Nox. It is
Nox.
Nox.
I always think it's Vox. Nox
Fine.
is Nox
Call
is
it
coming
Vox.
in about a month's time, but you know, just so we can, you know, have a little bit of book club and
Pseudo long game again.
yeah, pseudo long game. Yeah, well, I mean,
It's back.
yeah,
It's back.
It's kind of not pseudo long game. It pretty much is a long game. But
It's like 3 times longer than our other
Except
long
Mount
games.
Forest, we just all happen to play it,
yeah,
the four of us.
This is the fucking longest game. But yeah, it's. I'll go ahead because I feel like this is just gonna be like a round table. Like the format won't quite be the same. But I love that. It is no secret that I love SMT. I love Persona. I love JRPGs. So, like Colin was saying, somehow I got surprised by this game.
Yeah, I'm really curious on the actually all of us, what everyone's first impressions were like from trailers to release, what you're talking about with your love of SMT and stuff.
So I had only ever seen it on like it was like an Xbox Direct, and I just saw like a clip, and I was like, oh hey, that's like a really SMT looking game, and for some reason I did no research into it other than thinking, hey, they showed it in Xbox Direct. It's some weird fucking Xbox exclusive SMT budget ass game. And then that's all I thought about it. And then Colin was like, have you played the Metaphor demo?
Yeah.
And I was like, there's a demo on the Xbox? What? And then I got fucking nut hype.
Yeah, dude. Like, I feel like they must have done a shit job marketing this game because I have always been a huge SMT Persona guy, and literally, like, I only found out about this game like 6 days before it was coming out.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what the fuck? High fantasy Persona? Excuse me? What?
Yeah, when I
How
was
did
like,
I not
"Damn,
know about this?
This demo is 12 hours long, dog.
Yeah, that was what kind of got me because you were like, man, this demo is really good. I'm like, oh, Colin's enjoying it. And you were playing it for like 3 days. I was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Classic, like Atlas length demo, I guess.
Yeah, for me it was kind of what Darth said, except Persona has always made me kind of cringe in the
How
past. So I
dare
was
you?
like,
All right, get rid of
woo,
him.
we don't have to be high schoolers, and we don't have
Yeah.
to date. Like those two things
Yeah.
sold me hard. But then I actually saw the gameplay of the real-time fighting in the field, and I was like super sold on that. Like even if it didn't deliver, just the idea of that was really enticing, and it did deliver.
I was about to say.
Sure did. Yeah, I remember. I don't know like where I saw this. What game showcase or whatever. Like Danny was saying, Xbox, whatever. I just knew it was very simple. I was like, okay, I like Atlas. I like the games they make. I like the art. It looks cool. Combat, turn-based, Atlas JRPG. I'm down. I'm in. Whatever. Do I need to buy an Xbox? Okay.
Yeah. Do I could be an Xbox?
Like, you know, I bought a PS5 in 2020 so that I could play Demon Souls, and I definitely would have probably done the same thing. Definitely would have probably. That doesn't make any sense, but would have done something similar to play this because I was that excited for it. But then I like forgot about it until the demo was out. I was like, oh fuck. So I think the point about bad marketing is legitimate.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's weird.
But regardless, it kind of swept. But yeah.
Yeah, it fucking
totally.
killed. Like it
Popped
got
off.
like I'm trying to think. Like of course Persona 5 they talk about like sales numbers and all that. I don't remember Persona 5 being all over like all these Game of the Years RPG like nominee like I feel like this was almost better received than Persona 5, which is crazy to say.
I wonder what the Metacritic is on both of them.
That's a good question. You know what? I'm looking it up. Should I look up Royal or should I look up OG? Probably OG.
OG, probably
We do
OG,
OG,
because
I'm
this
doing
one's probably
Royal.
gonna have a fucking golden
Oh, for
rail.
sure is, and I'll probably buy it again like a jabroni.
Well, there's 4
Like,
jabronis
yes.
here that are absolutely gonna buy it.
Yeah, fucking 10 extra
Yeah.
hours of content behind 90 hours of gameplay I've already done. Yeah. Woo.
Dude, Metaphor's got a 94 on Metacritic. That's crazy.
So Persona
Yeah.
5 has a 93.
Dang.
Shit.
Persona 5 Royal has a 95.
I was
Yeah,
Persona
we-
4 have.
whatever.
Okay, well, Persona 4 has a 90 and Golden has 93. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole
Okay,
different
let's.
episode.
Yeah, that's the
Tangent.
whole fucking thing, man. Let's
that's
not
a-
get started on that.
That is a fucking thing and a half. But yeah, so I guess, yeah, just as well received. But I just the fact that it kind of came out of nowhere almost made this game even more special. Like it blindsided me.
Mhm.
It was such a like shake up of the formula. Like you said, you don't have to be a cringe high schooler, and it's not like SMT either mainline where it has to be cringe edgelord. Like it's
Totally.
just
Too
like
abstract to follow.
yeah,
Interesting blend of systems between the two as well.
yeah. That's I feel like I could talk about that all day. I have to say it did not launch with anti-aliasing.
Yeah, I'm looking at your settings
Yeah,
right now. I
I
forgot
just
about
looked it
that.
up.
Flush it. Flush it, dude.
Oh, shit. That was, I will say this game did have the worst graphic settings I think I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah.
It's like here's literally like maybe 4 actual options. I was like, well,
They got better over time, right?
well
With
they added
patches.
anti-aliasing.
Added an option.
Yeah.
And like motion blur at some point too.
Oh
they added
yeah,
that.
on the dash.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
Yeah,
That was
a
yeah.
must.
That was the only thing I actually cared about, to be honest.
Mhm.
And the fact that he would go like every time you
No,
ran.
that was what I complained about. I was like, they should.
Well,
make
no,
this a
I'm with
thing.
you.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, but when you play in Japanese, he
Shut up.
does it a
Shut
lot more
up.
stoically.
He says sugoi.
Dude, you
Yeah.
shamed me.
Sugoi, magic sword. And then
Into-
he flies off.
You shamed me into feeling like I had to play this game in Japanese, and then Colin set me
That's
straight.
BS.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm
It
playing
sounds
in
way
English.
better in
No, it
Japanese.
doesn't.
but
No, it
you guys know
doesn't.
I'm always gonna have
You
that
don't
opinion.
know how good of a job they're doing.
Gallica's voice and
No, I heard the English. I went, oh man.
Gallica's English voice is my soul.
You're one of those, huh?
What
I didn't
what
say
did you
that to Colin.
guys what did you guys kind of like first like notice about the game when you started it up? Like what like immediately was like, "Oh, this seems like it's like
The book.
yeah."
The book was magical and so captivating. I mean, my mom, who loves Persona, I had to tell her about this game because she also didn't know about it, and I just told her the premise of the book. She was like, "Don't tell me anymore. I gotta play that." And yeah, that premise, like what's on the screen right now, like just the idea of our world being the fiction felt so fresh, new, and exciting. It was
Definitely.
driving me forward the whole game.
Yeah. I feel like it's not an understatement to say that every kind of like they went for a lot of like shakeups in this, and I feel like every single one they did, they nailed it. Like it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like I forgot to name my character Donnie. Thank you, Holden.
Yeah, I think what immediately stood out to me whenever I first like started like monkeying around with stuff, besides the interesting writing that and like the hook, which was good, like you said, was the art direction of the menu system. That was the very first
my
thing that
God.
after like I was like, oh
Mhm.
whoa, like this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I just want to say that it is literally my favorite JRPG menu screen ever.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's
hella
It's
good.
beautiful, and
But
it's
also,
so
like,
stylized.
to that point, like how it changes from when you're like basic bitch jobber, you don't have like your
Oh, I
persona or whatever,
know.
and then it switches to like the full menu screen.
You get
and,
more
like,
and more
Yes.
screens. It would have been pretty overwhelming at first. It was very thoughtful.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's like very minimal, like utilitarian, efficient sort of menu layout. I
Definitely.
think it's like in like the bottom left, and it's just like blue or something. It's very very minor, right? And then you just get this like full beautiful art, right?
Big splashes of color.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
crazy
gorgeous.
That
And
happens.
great. I think the UI is just good. in
Yeah, it
general,
happens
sorry.
with the battle UI too. Like the moon at the top before that's introduced. Like the
Mhm.
actual battle UI gets more in depth. Like the further you go, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But even just like compare, they're talking about this book as being like like a utopia, right? Which is a huge topic we can talk about,
Mhm.
but you don't
Mhm.
have to. But like it's black and white, right? And then you unlock your persona, and you have all this like dope ass color in the menus. It's just neat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the way it looks, like not to say that Persona 5 doesn't look really nice, but like the really like sharp and stylized and like the color choices, like this game just looks so nice.
It's
Like-
fantasy, and it's high fantasy, and it immediately presents itself as such. And Persona 5 is meant to be, very more like chilled back and muted, and
Comic
that's-
booky.
yeah, and that's fine. But this, it just immediately like sets a tone for the way that the game wants to present itself. And for the most of the time, I feel like it does present itself as a strong high fantasy.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff to talk about, like this game and the mediums in it, the many different types of art and the way they express it, and I have some nerdy, real fun ones to talk about.
Oh
but
shit.
specifically the architecture, kind of when you talk about high fantasy, the blend between Art Deco and brutalism and their own little magic fantasy spin on it, I was obsessed with. Especially when you go into the cathedral or some of the castles,
Mhm.
they hit you with new songs with it. It's, woo! Like some of my favorite video game environments ever from this game.
What do you feel about Charlie wearing graph paper for his shirt?
Super stylized, super sick. So
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely. I think that it definitely like it feels like they were blending like kind of like medieval fantasy with kind of like that Persona 3 like 2000 style, which I think was probably on purpose to kind of lend to the fact that the game it's almost like it's I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's trying to like blend like fantasy with like present day sort of vibes, I guess, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
just because the whole thing is kind of trying to take a twist on fantasy versus reality, and it plays that out with its like style, like the style of clothes that characters wear, and I think it does that in other places too.
I think it-
Exceptional color palette between all the characters too.
Mhm.
It reminds me of Final Fantasy IX in terms of just nailing the color palette.
I think what
Yeah,
Darth
pardon.
said also fits really well with the story, like what's going on with the story in general too, though. Like with the Eldens and sort of being vestiges, holdovers of humanity from the past.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the clothing choice between the main character here and what the rest of these jobbers are wearing.
Kind
They
of a
look like
blank slate.
well, they look like random medieval kind of wear. You know, there's like
Yeah, like kind of street
just like
tough bandit kind of
linen-
look.
linen shirt kind of thing, and they have like just very nondescript, just like fabric that they could find, right? Whereas he's like
He's dripped
totally
out.
different, you know.
He looks like he's about to go to like a rave or something, or he's gonna go to like go get like hipster cocktails with his friends.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's discordant, but Elvens in this world are discordant, and they're treated as such. You know.
Yeah, that's a great point. He does stand out regardless of the fucking heterochromia and the Marth look-alike.
Yeah, I think that's something that's interesting to talk about. That I think that we should definitely talk about is like the kind of like the racial themes that exist in the game, which I thought was like really refreshing for Atlas to tackle in the way that it normally does. Like, how did you guys feel like that was handled? Because I have some thoughts on that, but like, how do you think that fit into the story overall?
I think it fit well. It was blunt and on the nose.
Yeah.
Yes,
Little,
that's one of the
but-
criticisms I think
Yeah.
I
But
have
it's
of it.
it's intentionally so for the main point of the game.
Indeed.
Can
Like,
you elaborate?
Just this is like kind of going pretty deep into the woods, but kind of the culminating like magic is power moment of the game, the actual big reveal and accepting this fantasy as important as reality. They kind of had to expedite the themes because although racism and classism and all these things exist, it was in this fantastical fictional world, right? So I don't think the main overarching theme is these like you have some of the like the most blatant on the nose moments of like you have two dialogue options or like, yeah, all rich people are bad, or no, some of them can be good. Like there were some pretty ridiculous ones, and obviously that's not like the final point of the story, if that makes sense.
if anything, I think the story is trying to make you think less extremely.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that
Oh, totally.
what
yes.
it's trying to say is that there's more things that we can compare ourselves to than divide ourselves on, and
Absolutely.
that division is what causes all the angst and fear and evil magic,
anxiety.
essentially.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, like that's a big thing. Like I feel like part of the reason it is so ham-fisted, like all the races are like, you got, what do they call them? Knife ears, like the Rodanthe, like, and then bat people, people are so quick to judge literally just based on their race, and it plays into later. It's like, well, that's kind of what Luis was banking on. It's just preying on people's just preconceived bigotry, to bring up that anxiety and fear. Oh, you're different. I'm afraid of that. It literally full leans into that at the end.
I think it's so topical. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very topical, and it's funny because if it wasn't done well, a looming red anxiety cloud floating over people would be like, wow, that's like, this is what we're working with. But you've seen the build up the whole game, and like you said, Darth, it is topical. Not to get too political, but you see the same stuff in real life.
Oh yeah,
so-
it was like almost a 1-to-1. I was like, maybe they're spitting here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And
Also-
I sorry, actually, you go on.
I was gonna just make a quick tangent. I was gonna say, not to get also too political, but this game made current events around the time of November very depressing for me.
Oh, did you say?
Very fucking depressing. I was feeling like this game is a very optimistic, I think, undercurrent when it comes to all this
Definitely.
stuff. Yeah, you feel good, we can overcome this racism and everything that divides us. Like you're saying, Darth, there's more that unites us that pulls us apart and all that shit. And then you know what I mean? It was
When you were
just- it was
looking
just
for the
not
book
good.
in real life.
Yeah, I was like, "Where's the book?"
Let me in the fantasy, bro. I think that is so true, and honestly, yeah, I forgot what I was even gonna say, but that's great. I'm glad that you mentioned that because
Sorry.
no, it's fine. It's like that's just so true, and I think that like that kind of sucks, but it just makes me honestly appreciate the optimism a bit more because I think that optimism and not getting bogged down in whatever you say, like in pessimism, is also part of what the story
Well,
is trying to
on that
encourage in
note,
people.
I a really good indicator for me if I like really like a game is if the number score didn't change months after the fact. And it didn't. It's been sitting at like a 9. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that yet, but anyway, it's also brought me like some relief in times of those similar feelings of like, oh yeah, I remember feeling a little optimistic coming out of this game and to practice patience with people because it's kind of what
Absolutely.
is asked from you as as Charlie, as Donnie, the whole game.
That reminds me, like for me, there was a culminating moment that solidified that. I just want to say it before I forget it. It's just like probably one of my favorite experiences while I was playing it, where I actually felt something where it's like towards the very end of the game, everyone's super anxious. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's anxiety time. It's like the last couple of days. You go into the, the diner where the cat lady lives and the angel girl lives, and there's like fairies that start to appear around the city, and they all have interesting things to say. But one of them in there, and she says it one time, and I think she disappears afterwards too. She's like, she noticed that when you walked in, that, like, because she's very like in tune with the emotions of everyone. She says that everyone's been really anxious, but the moment that your character walks in, she felt everyone's anxiety turn into hope at the sight of your character. And to me, that felt like the pinnacle of that optimistic feeling that the game is trying to give you. And I felt really like it played into a power fantasy, essentially, of like compassion, which is like, it's kind of a gooner power fantasy, but you know what I mean. Anyways, all that is to say is that I think that it did that optimism really well, and it made me feel optimistic, and it made me feel important, and like that I could do the same. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's so hard to do in a JRPG.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and it succeeded at least at that very moment. I never felt that way when I was fighting the final boss, or anything. It was in that small, quiet moment. And honestly, if I can just say, I think that there's probably places in this world that all of us can walk into that can inspire others to feel that same way, and I think that's really special.
Damn, that's beautiful, Darth.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
No, I definitely like see what you're saying, like how it resonates, and I think that's what like the Persona games. The Persona games sometimes do touch on it, like, but they can't escape that kind of like teenagers fighting God, like high school thing, because they do deal with some heavy themes, and it's like they kind of approach them, but it's just like in this game, like it was, maybe it was because it was so on the nose with current events, but it was just like, it just felt like you really, it sucked me into the story because it just felt so like, yeah, man, like, shit, like shit's tough.
Yeah, I think it's just very human.
Yeah.
There's a lot I want to say on this, and it's gonna be disorganized, but like I think to Darth's point, you get that point in the story where like it all clicked, like you were talking about, but I think it's because it made sense and it worked right there throughout the whole game, because like they never flinched away from like even what they were getting at when it wasn't overtly stated, and then when it was overtly stated, like what is magic, it is sort of like raw emotion, right? And that emotion can be it can binary, right? It's like either you're gonna be hopeful and optimistic about it, or you're gonna be anxious and give in to fear, right? And both of those things are human. We have a choice to do either within, certain. You can only control so much, right? But you still have some level of choice in the matter.
And also the fact that like when like super late into the game, that it leans into the whole like. I liked that it didn't go anxiety, hate, bad, optimism, hope, good.
Yeah.
It's literally saying no. The anxiety is what you make of it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be bad, and it was
Yeah.
just like,
Absolutely.
damn. Like
Two sides of the same coin.
They're kind of spitting. Yeah, like you can take this anxiety and face it head on, and like how you, like if you recoil and like decide to go against and like make it hate, like you can make it the dark side. But it's like if you face that anxiety head on and kind of look forward and like adapt, like you can turn it positive, you can turn it to the hope. And it was just like, you know what, being human is okay, but like you gotta do your shit, man.
Yeah. You have to learn from the past.
And I think
Relatively thoughtful dialogue options in those moments too, where you're like, huh, which one do
sure.
I actually pick? What do I align with here?
I always
as
picked
Charlie
this.
Donnie?
I always picked the super radical option, to be honest, because I was like, fuck all this for most of the game.
That's interesting.
I think that, like, for me, like everybody wants to rule the world, but like, I think that probably now that I'm thinking about it and that we've been talking about it, that very like on the nose about how corrupt things are and how bad, like the racism and the classism is to inspire you to want to change things.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Even the people who are a little bit maybe less socially minded about those types of things, it makes you want to make a change. And now that I think about it, it probably serves to better the overall general person's experience. Not that I'm like a professor on it or anything, but you know what I mean? Like a 15-year-old playing this game might need a little help, you know what I mean, along the way to kind of digest those themes.
Mm-hmm. I also think that it's only on the nose for us as the audience, right, or the consumer. I think it's not on the nose. It is just the way the world works in the world of the game.
Truly, that's true too. Yeah, you know what? Okay, I think maybe I'll change my mind about one of the qualms that I have then, because that was one of the qualms. But now that I think about it, yeah.
But like, to your point, I think it's intentional, which, and maybe this doesn't really make sense, and I'm giving this game a pass where it doesn't really deserve one. But I do think, without having time to really flesh out the thought, I think it makes sense to say that both this game and Persona 4 and 5 for me felt on the nose at times, and a little bit, as we've said, like ham-fisted or blunt, or like too direct in what they're trying to say, or like maybe they say it too much, etc.
Like telling, not showing, kind of.
Yes, exactly. And I really think that this game still does it too much. There's still too much dialogue that says more or less the same thing over and over again. It's just what Atlas does, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think that this is the only of those three games where like I didn't just like kind of cringe at it at a certain point. You know, I was like, I get it. Can we move on? Because every time they showed like you have the story manifesting itself in the small human moments that you see in like the social links or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
I think it's just really it's well delivered here, and it ultimately serves in an efficient, economic way to make you feel and make you connect with the story. And
Yeah, and
what the characters are doing, you know.
that's only kind of one of the like I wouldn't say background plot things, but like sort of the the anxiety looming over people being dumb and the game being on the nose. Like again, surface value, that's pretty mundane, but does an excellent job of pacing because first area sets it up. Who's the guy who gets assassinated? Is it Grius or someone? Is that dude's name?
He dies trying to assassinate.
Yeah, trying to
Yeah.
assassinate, yeah.
And then when I got to the second town, I was like, oh man, there's gonna be so much reading, so much. I gotta go into a new town. I'm not that excited. Like I want to see what the story's about with what's been established. And then you find out this the baby's been eating people, and that's its own thing. But all of those things serve and keep being relevant. Like the queen gets executed in the next town.
Yeah.
All these things are set in motion, and you could talk about the gameplay being really paced well with like the bringing the trinkets back to be identified, like always having
Oh.
those next goals.
Juicy.
So whether it's gameplay or story, like you're always like keeping the ball rolling, which
Absolutely.
I love. But my main point is that yeah, some of this stuff is very surface level, but there are many things in motion the whole game, like, and very smoothly, I'd say.
I
Definitely.
agree. And sorry, Colin, do you want to say something?
No, I
been
was
talking a
agreeing.
lot. I wanted to say that this game makes a lot of improvements on the Persona kind of gameplay loop and story loop in that regard. Like, and it's exactly like what you just said, Holden. It's such an improvement, and I'll continue to compare this to Persona because it basically is a Persona game, essentially, in my opinion, except for maybe the combat. Like, a lot of the time in those games, you do something and then you just move on, and it doesn't have very much impact on like the world, the story,
Yeah.
and the characters specifically. But this game, it keeps like you said, it keeps those events rolling, and it keeps referring back to them, and that is such an excellent improvement that kept me so much more engaged. And on the topic of engagement, like you were talking about, Holden, like the dungeons in between and the side quests just throws a bit of a wrench in how I normally play the games, where it's like beat the dungeon and then fucking social link max. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas in this game, you know, I usually still beat the dungeon ASAP, but then I was still going to dungeons like and doing social links, and then do it like a side quest dungeon or two, and then go back to social links, and that just really provided a way more engaging gameplay loop than the past entries of Persona.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It felt different than like, you know, like, okay, min max your dungeon time, min max your social link time, like do your thing.
Yeah.
Like, whereas this, it felt like, oh, like I want to do this, and then, oh, but like I think the travel time kind of thing lent itself to not being so min maxy, because it was just like you had to keep it in mind, but it was that like they always gave you enough time with the deadline, but like it wasn't like, okay, I gotta have this rigid plan and this is what it's gonna be.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to follow a walkthrough to get all your social links.
Mhm.
You just have to be
Next.
like, you just have to be thinking a little bit.
Yeah, at least have like a rolling list of priorities.
Dude, I got
you know?
stun locked thinking about the perfect order of everything every single moment.
You're trying too hard with this.
I
Which-
love time management.
I hate it. So
I do
Yeah.
often have 3 days left over to do nothing. I'm like, wait, why'd I even do that?
you just hang out with Gallica all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, like, anytime. I honestly think it's great. Anytime that I do anything in Persona that made me, like, lose even, like, half a day's worth of stuff, I would literally be, like, mad and upset for, like, 5
I
minutes.
should probably
Like,
reload that save.
Fuck, I haven't saved for, like, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Maybe Alice is realizing that.
Yeah,
Kinda.
well, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. What did you guys think about the social links in general?
I like them.
Like,
I like that they were. I mean, I guess that's how Persona is, but the mix of the class ascension was cool with that.
oh yeah, absolutely. I think the characters are way more varied than in any Persona game, like by far.
Yeah, they were also more like they weren't so archetypey. It's really funny that they're less archetypey in this game, but it was just like in Persona there's always like the
jock,
and like the kid who's misunderstood and the
the girl.
yeah. And this, it was like you kind of you didn't have that, oh, this is this person. Got it. Here's the social link. It was like, ooh, what's going to happen in this social link?
Mm-hmm. I sorry.
No, go on.
I was gonna say, like, I think that what was interesting too is that the social links, there was less of them, which ended up being a good thing, I think. And at least I think there was less. I'm pretty sure there was. The social links didn't just focus on characters; it also focused on the communities surrounding the character.
Oh yeah, especially like High's
Which-
Maze.
Yeah, like High's Maze and Barden's.
Yeah, dude.
Mhm.
Like, so many of them involved the communities and provided extra world building on top of, like, you learning about these characters, and I think that just made the social links feel just even better in the grand scheme of the story.
It,
Right.
Bardon was the general, right?
Yeah.
It helped
Yeah, I
with
was
the
gonna
world
s-
building so much.
I was
Mhm.
gonna say, did Persona, any of them, did they ever have the social links? Like, Bardon had a really cool one where you get to fight the worm boss again.
Yeah.
Like, that was a cool opportunity that, like,
Definitely.
there was an actual boss fight attached to that. They did that a few times with stuff.
They did that kind of in Persona 4, but it was the thing about Persona 4 is that happened in every single social link, so it stopped being interesting, and it was never as tied to the story as that worm like refights. Like that was really cool. Yeah. I don't think there's any other like boss fights related to social links in like any of the games, basically, besides 4.
I mean, 5 did the stuff.
Sorry, my bad. I'm so sorry. Yes,
I was gonna say
I meant
5
to say 5.
tied a couple into metaphor. What was it called? Mementos.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like in 5, rather, all the social links go back
Go
to
back
the,
to Mementos, yeah.
go back to Mementos. Go fight my fucking, like, fucked up family member.
Get in the cat car. Go fight the
Yeah.
boss. Yeah,
Yeah. My goodness, he saved me.
it sounds
Every
like I'm
single
just
time.
gonna. It's gonna be weird. Like gonna sit here and sound like we're shitting on Persona 4 and like SMT.
Yeah, it's like your
compared-
favorite game.
Yeah, but it's just like this game definitely. That's what I was saying earlier. Like they took some departures for the best.
Absolutely.
It's just like the truest vision, or expression of that vision that they have thus far, in my opinion.
Totally.
Alright, let's shake up these waters. Let's get some uneven tides for a second. Donnie, I share a qualm with you.
Okay.
How did the story land with, I wanted to say Griffith. What's his name?
Griffith.
Luis.
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 How did it feel every time the fight was a cakewalk?
Oh yeah, like that was a major beef I had. Is because he had the biggest fucking plot armor ever. Like I hate supposed to lose fights, but I would
Mhm.
prefer those because the game set him up every time as this god king. And then you would get into the fight and smoke him and then he would get plot armored.
Peace.
And I was just like let me lose to him. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny. As much as I like Luis and like how well he played his role, he is the biggest part of my issues with this game. Like if it
Mhm.
wasn't that, and then there's one moment like when you're oh god. This was another stream. I'm going to reference another stream that I just happened to turn on. One of his like final speeches before like the true like final boss where he goes like Giga Omega Sephiroth Supernova, and he's arguing with you while he's on the seat of the throne, and one of his like you're arguing with him and you're like your justice is fake, and one of his lines is, "Have I ever deceived you?" Or like, "Have I ever deceived who I'm like my people, his wards?" And it's right after he takes off
Yeah.
his Eldian horns, or like his or not his Eldian, like because he's an Elda, but he takes off the
Yeah.
horns. Like what's Stroll? Claymore. And the streamer called him out on the same moment that I was like, wait a minute. And he said he pretty much said, "Is this real guy really gonna say that when he's been walking around in Claymore face the whole game?" And it just fucking destroyed me. And like
Yeah.
like some of his like I'm not saying his whole ambition and his whole plot line was whack, but like there were, but maybe this is a part of it, but there were humongous flaws in his thinking, but that's maybe part of it.
I think that part was intentionally. So if you think about him, you could be like, I don't know. You could twist that logic, but I guess without going into semantics, I agree. It's a little hypocritical.
Yeah, like he had a lot of hypocrisy, but that's also a part of his might makes right. It's like
Yeah,
Kinda thing.
yeah. Hypocritical.
But yes,
Dictatorship
I
is pretty-
super did not like that happened like 3 times that
Yeah,
that you just
yeah, the-
shit on him and then he
Yeah,
walks
we-
away.
I think we all played Omega min-maxing our characters too, so it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
tweeted him.
Yeah, beat the shit out of him. I mean, it's such a missed opportunity and an easy thing to do to like make the gameplay match the plot, to have at least one of your fights with Luis be an absolute fucking dumpster. Right?
Or just do a phase 2. Like if you want, like if their gameplay thing is like, hey, we don't want to make you feel weak, like you could still win this fight. Do phase 2 where he pulls out his sword and then he fucks you up. Like
he's like, damn, you made me try.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's but look at like we talked about Final Fantasy 9 just very briefly earlier. But look at how many times that happens with Beatrix in that game. She like toys with you and she's like, I'm tired of this, or I gotta go. You know, like.
But to be fair, she's not the main antagonist, right?
But she's true, and it would have been cool to have. Do you have a supposed to lose with Kuja too, in that?
Yes,
he's
in Burmese.
Comparable.
In Burmese. No, that's Beatrix.
No,
and
Beatrix
then it introduces
there,
Kuja. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it works because she's like the stand-in for that whole like faction for that part of the game. But I get your point. It's just funny they didn't do it here, and it's disappointing because even like from a plot perspective, it's a miss. But even just from like I want to play a cool video game where the antagonist is like powerful and I'm supposed to be like intimidated by him. You finally get to fight him after like 50 hours, and he's a little piss baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, super disappointing. I agree. I didn't have any challenge in that fight. I think, like, to be honest, most games with job systems that are very, like, you know, modifiable and monkeyable, most of the time, the end game, frankly, like the fights past the mid game are all super easy because you just have so many tools at that point if you've been building your characters correctly.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
So this is getting into the weeds a little.
Game was easy.
But how I was thinking I would resolve it, and this is, I don't think people would have liked this, but this is what I would have preferred, is if you couldn't get your magic back in dungeons so easily, I think the game would be way more interesting if it was like kind of that Fire Emblem Arenas level of difficulty to grind, if that makes sense.
Where there's like risk reward.
Yeah, and like if you had in the beginning, it's like really hard to get your magic back, especially when Donnie didn't choose mage and you're getting that free 1 MP per enemy hit.
Shit's nasty.
That was like really engaging in the beginning for me. So if you had kind of limits to how much you could grind in dungeons, then I think Luis would have hit real hard for me. But alas, you can grind, and I took advantage of that, so I nullified it.
Even still, though, like, I agree with you, but I even found that the ability to regain MP past the island dungeon, because it was long and kind of hard, actually. It was like a jump in difficulty. In my opinion, it wasn't like hard, but harder.
It was long.
Yes. So, like, I actually had to stop and kind of farm for MP there. But that's like, beyond that, it was totally a non-issue. I just rolled the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
And then I don't want to go super deep on difficulty, but I wish Renegade was there from the start because I started just abusing the quick reset. Yep.
I can't tell. Like, I feel like if you didn't have the quick reset available to you, there would have had to maybe be some changes with, like, I don't know, how
swingy it could be.
Like,
that's
if you
true.
ambush a fight versus them ambushing you, same fight. You just get instant game over or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
everybody's
every
confused.
A sick part of my brain loves that.
But there were definitely random encounters where I got jumped because I misplayed, which is cool, right? It's my fault. But then I would just fish for the right reset where I could run away instead of eating the game over because I'm a little bitch. I didn't want to.
Well, I don't know if you guys want to talk about anything, but that reminded me of Donnie's other qualm, which is paying for information.
It definitely helps to do.
I fully accept that you could do that. My major gripe, like, to elaborate on what happened, one of the side dungeons, like where you fight a like side boss, like for a mission, just has a fucking bird at the top that So I like games when you can glean information, not when it literally says, "Here's $5. Here's the information."
There's some hint NPCs in the
There's
dungeon.
also hints in the fights too.
Oh yeah,
kind of.
yes, that
Kind
it
of.
stares at you. Yes,
It's threatened. It feels threatened.
it feels
by you.
threatened. Thank you. How am I supposed to know that that means it's gonna do this move? Like, how do I know that that move is just triggered by something and not a part of its moveset?
Yeah, I guess.
What a beautiful moment that bird was.
That bird
That
cost
was a
me
hard
like
fight.
3 hours of
I was
my
gonna
life.
say that was like
Three-
the whole stream arc.
I feel like it was like multiple streams.
Yeah, dude, it was.
Fucking
it
hate
was
that
Uh,
bird.
I was literally yelling at my screen. I was like, Danny, please just move your characters to the back
No,
line. Please
dude.
just do it
So-
one time, see what happens.
I do credit you, Donnie, because I don't want info in games to be so blatant. This is how you do the mechanic. But I remember Colin and I talking about this. Later in the game, they get a lot more vague and ambiguous with the hints, which started to make it feel good toward the end. But I'm actually in the same boat where it is a little all or nothing. It kind of leans into that Omega swing we're talking about.
Yeah. Like, all I'm saying is, if in that fight, all it said is glares at the front row, I would have been fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I
As-
agree. I think
but-
it's not great.
Feels threatened. I was like, of course it feels threatened. I'm about to fucking stab it. Like, what do you want from me?
Which is funny because like one of the first times the game draws your attention to the, I guess the downside of where your positioning is. It's like an enemy that says is literally targeting the front row. Literally, it says that.
Yeah.
It should stay the same then for the other ones,
Yeah.
really.
Well,
but
and-
it didn't.
Well, and I'm trying to think, the ones that go berserk because you have a mage or like a cleric, does it say that, or did they just start raging?
No, they say something like they're just angry. The same thing happened to me, Danny. I did that whole dungeon as a mage. I was just like, damn, these goblins are fucking strong. I guess I just gotta kill them in one turn.
This game's got hands.
But the thing is it wasn't that weird because I was like, well, most of the other enemies can kill me in one turn anyways.
Yeah.
So
The frenzy's fricked up, man.
yeah, it is. It's fucked. It's fucked right up, dude. Crazy.
I might be crazy, but I don't have an example, but I swear, like, there's some other way that's not in the way the game tells you that the bird is about to fuck your shit up,
Bird
and
fucks your
it's
shit.
not in it's not in like the intel you buy. There's like some other like NPC dialogue, like the little dudes in the dungeons you
Yeah,
can
there's
find.
literally usually jobbers. That
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there was
There was
else,
something. Yeah, there could
but
have
I
been.
don't remember what it
Like-
was.
Also, that it's funny that leans into my probably only real gripe with like the actual combat system itself is it gave enemies way too much freedom with press turns.
Yes.
Like, so my example to that is there's a notorious fight in SMT3 Nocturne. The boss is called Mott, and he has an ability called Beast Eye. And if he uses it, it gives himself 2 press turns, which means if he uses it twice, he can give himself infinite turns. And it was a total fucking pain in the ass. In this game, half of the fucking enemies have an ability like that. And not
Yep.
only do they have that ability, they have the advanced version called Dragon Eye, which gives you 4 press turns. So it's just like, how do we make this fight hard? Give him 8 turns. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like,
it is a little
totally.
artificial difficulty. I agree.
I think it made it so that you had to play a certain way. I built my whole team around just destroying the enemy's turns, and that made
Well,
it
and
not
the
as
worst
bad.
part of that, Darf, is it's funny. Clone and I built the exact same way. I used Juna to do the like, you're now weak to fire, and then did the Omega frick you
Yep.
fire move to everyone. Like, oh,
Uh,
everyone takes all 40,000 damage for the rest of the game, I guess. Why
Yep.
would I do anything else at this point when they're gonna add 30 turns?
totally.
That was like the ultimate sweat strat I found, but my favorite and the strat I used to actually beat the game. It was very similar, but it was basically using Basilio as his like royal berserker or whatever. 'cause he
Oh
can-
yeah, I was
can-
messing around with that. He's cool.
yeah, he can like create a weakness and continue to cycle it, so he can like
Yeah.
make his own press turns and hits like a fucking truck.
He seemed like the strongest character, to be
I
honest.
saved all my strength up
yeah.
items for him.
He's my I don't
Stroll
know. I
didn't
don't-
get crap.
I think Stroll is like the ultra homie, better than even like Yosuke or Ryuji in my opinion from the other ones. So Stroll is like ultra. ultra homey for me. But Basilio was like really cool. I loved his character.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude, absolutely.
the brothers.
He's
I'm a
he's
big
kind
fan
of
of
like
Axe Wielders.
Makoto from Persona 5, where her character benefited a lot from having like her sibling be a massive part of the game.
Right,
You know what I mean? And so I think Basilio is probably one of the best characters for that reason, because you fucking know him for so long before he even becomes a party member.
Yeah, and
So
you
it
even,
feels
like,
really good.
see him kind of get his like sort of backbone before
Yeah,
his
totes.
older brother does or whatever.
Yeah,
Dude,
absolutely.
I didn't even notice him on the cover art. It actually hit me out of left field, and I felt so dumb for not seeing it coming.
Danny pointed that out to me. I also didn't see it.
It's funny.
I thought we were gonna get Lil Bro.
Odell.
And
I knew for
and-
a fucking fact the second those characters came on, that was gonna play out exactly the way it did.
Yeah, I'm cringing that I didn't see it coming.
the little man dies.
I was like, the little man, he's definitely got to go. Big guy. I could have seen it going both ways.
Yeah,
but I
it
was
could have
pretty
gone
sure.
either way. Yeah, like, but one of them was gonna have the tragic arc.
Yeah.
And, like,
We were seeing some death flags before that too. Before that encounter, I was like, ooh, he's making amends with people. Like, ooh.
You know how you can hang out in where's Yufa from? The with the best song in the game. The
Dragon Isles or whatever.
yeah, the
El Nido Triangle.
I hung out with him, Lil Bro, and you get this freaking Giga +5 all stats.
I
little
think you
flute.
get that from one or the
You do.
other. I think so. But that is that is
So
fire.
dang.
You
Yeah,
get
I
the
was
same
like, "Ooh."
item. The item has the same effect, but every character gives you an item that gives you +5 stats.
Oh, are you serious? Oh, why'd I talk to him? That's
No, but
Wasted
it's
my
cool
time.
because it's cool though still, because like you
Yeah.
got to have that moment with that character.
it was
and you
actually a
don't
good
have much.
conversation right before that happened.
Yeah, he was way too competent to survive. Honestly, I liked him a lot. I liked pretty much all the characters. Can I just say another thing this game improved from Persona? It still did it, but it didn't fucking Flanderize its characters as soon as their main character arc was over.
Yeah.
Just Flanderize, man.
Like, so, like, for instance, like, Hulkenberg gets Flanderized because, like, she likes food, right? That's a thing about her. But, like, if she would be Flanderized as the game went on and she became less important, the only time she spoke up was if it was about
Oh.
food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
they
losing
definitely
character
serve
depth.
their roles and their, I guess, character themes in the conversation. It was always relevant when they spoke up.
They continue to do that, which I really appreciated. There were
Yeah.
still some times, though, where I was like, okay, I don't care how much Hulkenberg likes food. Please stop.
I liked Hulk. I'm sorry I talk about 9 so much, but I liked her being this Steiner-esque character.
Mhm.
I think I just love Steiner, but yeah, it's
Yeah, man.
neither here nor there.
She's great. Her consistency of character and delivery of her lines, and like she's fantastic. I love her character.
She's also overpowered as hell, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Her Royal
the-
Knight, dude.
Yeah, dude, the way that I built my whole thing is I had... Sorry, I'm just gonna nerd out. I had Hulkenberg
Go for it.
and Batboy, and they were completely and utterly spec'd into dodging and blocking everything possible, and no enemy in the final dungeon got to have more than 2 turns before their entire turn set was just gone, because she would reflect things, he would dodge things and remove every turn they had. Like, it was just fucking ridiculous.
hmm
She is so fucking strong.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who didn't use Heisme.
How could you?
Well, I would love to talk about all of that.
But I agree, Darth.
Just like the classes in general. Holden, or-
Plon and his dismay for Heisman.
Yeah, what's
Ooh.
up with that?
So I don't.
He was tragic,
it's
on
Bat Alan
record.
Rickman.
I think what it comes down to is my perception of the influence of the character's base stats in their ability to execute on the vision of the truly flexible job system of the game. And I was like, why am I going to use... So I wanted a physically powerful oriented team, right? I was like,
Right.
so why am I going to use Heisme when I have better options to do that? And that was pretty much it. And then I didn't really... It didn't sink into me how meta... I'm not going to call it cheese, but you know what I mean? Like really
It's
strong,
cheese.
like his just evading everything and using that to gut enemy turns. So you turn their offense into you neutralize it, right? it didn't occur to me to do that. So like, I thought he was a thematically interesting character, but I just couldn't get into using him in combat, which made me less interested in engaging with him as a character in general. So
he was
that
very weak in
makes
like
sense.
random
Yeah.
encounters. I will say,
Yeah,
like he
like,
was not
super
very
weak.
good in them at all.
I
But he
just-
stole, right? Like stealing is still
Yeah,
good,
I used
right?
him from the
So-
beginning because every enemy has to have a stealable.
I got pretty sweaty with stealing, and then ultimately I think I realized that like you didn't
can
really
get-
get a whole lot that's
No.
very
Yeah.
unique or good, and I just stopped trying.
You can get that like full MP HP recovery from the dragons. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
That shit, folks. But
So you
yeah,
can save
most of the
that,
time doesn't
never
matter.
use it for the final fight because you never know when you'll need it.
I used it for the
Only-
final fight because I was like, fuck it, damage time. Just spammed magic like crazy. Can I talk about a qualm?
Go for it.
Please.
Big qualm.
Big qualm.
The popularity thing, like the popularity stat.
Yeah.
That shit, I thought that was so cool and interesting, but that shit did not
Nothing.
matter like
yeah,
at
it was
all.
just nothing.
It-
I
was
thought
just
it
a
was
nothing.
just a marker for the plot progression and making just grounding it and like where things are. But yeah, as a mechanic, it was pointless.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool because I was like, oh, interesting. So like every single task that you do.
Yeah, when you
is
do a side quest, this
also-
is going to influence like where I sit in these rankings.
Yeah, it made me feel like, you know, it kind of made me feel that power fantasy of like things that I'm doing, people are noticing them, and it is like meaning something besides just the whatever I get from the quest. You know what I mean? And so I was really let down in the end when that mattered almost nothing.
and
Gotta
can
admit, it
cap out.
at least for me, it sold the downswings really well when Louis starts getting popularity and you see
absolutely.
your numbers start rising a ton.
Yeah.
For me, it was a good way of establishing what's going on without having to overly explain the
Yeah.
narration.
It definitely served its purpose of feeling like this massive rug pull when you're like neck and neck with Luis, and then boom, you're at 9,000 and he's won. You're like, well, everybody fucking hates me, I guess. Well, what the fuck?
Also, it's like, wait, I got to be halfway through. Why am I number 2? What's gonna happen? Was a big. It helped deliver that feeling even more for me.
I was kind of ready for that to happen, to be honest. I was not really surprised.
Yeah, but how's it gonna go down?
Yeah, that's true. I was waiting to see how it would go down, but I don't know. I just didn't really feel like I resonated with it past the point of realizing that it was just kind of
Once you get that realization, you're
yeah,
like,
like
oh,
that
that's
I
lame.
didn't really have agency over the number, and that's fine for that one situation where like he fucks you over, like that's interesting and cool. But then just the fact that it didn't end up really mattering what I was doing. Like it was just gonna happen. It was just gonna go up anyways. It's not
Yeah,
something that I had to try to do.
As far as like your decisions mattering or not, I do find it fascinating how linear this game is, but there are so many points where you can game over or get the bad ending,
Yeah.
which was I guess a good middle ground as far as like a branching, quote unquote branching JRPG should go.
Absolutely, I think
I still need
like
to.
like
Go
sorry.
ahead, Darth. No, go ahead.
no, you go.
Well, I still need to watch all the like bad endings or like not true endings.
Some of them are kind of
Yeah,
sad
exactly.
and
Like for that
creepy.
reason, because there is that one moment like where Luis is like, "Well, what will you do? Join me?" And one of the options is like, "Fuck it, sure." And I'm like, "Is this gonna give me a bad ending?" Like I kind of wanted to pick it. and I
You
think
know,
it
there's
does.
jobbers out there who did that, got the credits, and were like, "This game sucks."
I
Damn.
found them like I think you should still watch them, and I'm not just how they landed for me. They were ultimately, I think, appropriately underwhelming. You know, it's not going to be like big fanfare. It's just kind of like, well, you fucked up. Good job,
Like
dummy.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
I like
Maybe-
that about a bad ending, trying to make the player feel so bad they either restart or keep trying.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. It's like it's so flimsy and unsatisfying and like kind of a shrug almost, and then you just game over. Well, like the one I really tried very hard to get, I had to burn like 7 days, but it was like when you're supposed to board the Tiradrius and you have to like infiltrate it, right, and get the route secured. I just wanted to see what would happen, and it was basically just like, they ran out of time. They had this great opportunity, and
They blew
didn't
it.
really.
It's like
really use it,
it's
and-
something along the lines of like the race continued.
Yeah,
The Prince or Charlie Donnie didn't participate. Eventually, the Prince died. Like it's just like these like really
Yeah.
big sweeping
Yeah.
amounts of
That's funny.
times. With
it's just like text that scrolls on the screen over like a background.
Oh,
and
But you
It's
know
really-
what? I'm sorry. This is in that video I posted for you guys. There's one ending that if you get early, remember the necromancer who comes back to life and the whatchamacallit?
The
You
Irish
get to
guy.
see him kill the protagonist really early on before that reveal. And Gallico goes, "What? You're alive?" And then it's pretty cool.
Okay, that's
Interesting.
cool. Yeah, I loved his voice actor, by the way. I
Oh,
geeked
yeah.
out when
Oh,
in that whole.
can we talk
Enigma
about?
scene.
Well, hold on. Sorry. Can we talk about how the people who did the dialects fucking nailed it? Like
Yeah.
Colin, we had this discussion. We were talking about the brothers, Basilio and
They're
Fidelio,
Liverpool boys.
and they like. I could have listened to them talk forever. Like they fucking killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like so many, like a lot of the times when you get these voice actors, like you get somebody trying to do their best, like whatever dialect, but it really felt like they found people who were like, hey, you speak like
Yep.
this, we need you for this role.
And it's the same thing they did in Final Fantasy 16. Like they got actors specifically from the area that they were trying to represent. With so it wasn't even an accent; it's just how they talk.
Yeah,
you know.
that's what made me laugh when I went and like I forget why I was looking at the Steam discussions and somebody was like, "I'm tired of all these fucking video games, hiring these actors doing these piss poor accents." And one of the first thing was this guy quoting, "He's like, dude, like here's the like behind the voice acting video that they posted. Like these people are from there." And then the guy's like, "Well, they did a shit job." I'm like, maybe they're just
Yeah.
a bitch. Like what?
Yeah, right.
Expected.
This guy let anxiety take over, bro.
Exactly.
My ass man is
Actually.
hard, dude.
Like, yeah, like Holden, like I'm not actually trashing on you for playing the Japanese voice option.
Oh,
Like, I
likewise.
think
It's
everybody's
all
got the
memes.
right to choose their own, but I feel like the English VA cast did a fantastic
No, from
job.
what I heard, it was actual top tier voice acting. I'm just a weeb.
Oh, all right. Well,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean,
you-
like, it probably just depends on, you know, your like past experiences with anime and shit, what you listen to, right?
also they
Probably
gave
both are really good.
Joshua.
they gave Charlie a voice in this. That was the first thing that kind of blew me away. He's got dialogue lines. I was like, wait, what? He's talking.
And he's like British for one of them for some reason.
Yeah.
That was weird. Do you remember that?
I don't.
He's like,
always-
after he becomes like the prince, he's British for like one line, and then it never happens again. He's like,
His-
what is this new power?
I
His
forget
soul was
Anyway,
like
sorry.
integrating. He needed a second to get the kinks out.
What did you think about him having a voice, Danny? Sorry.
Oh, I thought it was neat. Like, because he wasn't fully voiced, but it kind of gave more agencies to his character that you weren't just this fucking dialogue box. Like, it kind
Yeah.
of made him feel more like a character and not just like the protagonist.
He's kind of a beta bitch, though.
It was a little bit of a bit of bitch, but he let that thing swang, though.
That's
Like,
right. That's right.
Truly a short king.
That's right. He
Yeah.
was a short king.
John Metaphor, son of Igus.
Excuse me, his name's Charlie Tanoku, please.
Sorry, my bad.
Hold on, I wanted to ask because you played with the Japanese voices. Do they do anything similar where there's like different dialects? You know?
Yeah, for me, I was hearing what I want to say. You sound. It sounds more like traditional Japanese. I
Sure.
don't know how to explain that, but yeah, there were differences.
Okay.
A lot
Yeah,
of like hesitation in the speech. That makes sense.
I would be
Sounded more
surprised if it
thoughtful.
wasn't, right? Like, that was a big focal point of the game, was like
Yeah.
people from different ethnicities, right? So I'm sure that they honored that in the Japanese voice acting.
yeah, it's like geographic expression and geopolitical expression via the dialects and how it sounds.
What did you guys think of the dungeons? Like the actual
I'm still pissed that I didn't steal from that dragon in the first dungeon.
Oh
was
I
so
will
fun.
forever be
Colin
pissed.
and I were going back and forth, giggling like schoolgirls.
I waited
Tommy
100
didn't
hours
get the
to go back
dragon
there.
blade.
And I thought I finally had the chance to go back there. And I was like, why the fuck would I want to go back there? And I'm like, I missed it? And then you guys were like, you could have done it when you were first there, dummy. And I was like, what?
Wait,
We
what?
were-
What do you do in the first time? You can steal something from
So,
the dragon?
you know-
You kill the dragon.
You can?
Or you
I thought it was
fight the
fucking
dragon,
like. I thought
and
it
he
was like.
flies off.
Oh, he's like actually fightable.
Yeah, if you're an alpha gamer like
Yeah,
Clark.
right.
Oh, okay, I
Okay.
see. I was too beta to even approach him.
Well, yeah. And so to throw the word around, my qualm is like the dragons are a big fucking deal in that game. Like they are like the end all be all. So that's why when I got to that point where it's like, well, we gotta fight the dragons. Like I'm ready to go back to that dragon, and then I find out, no, you're supposed to fight that dragon when you were level 6. He's so sick, right? I'm like, wait, what? So, like,
Yeah, you do a perfect parry off his fang and he fricks off and leaves a sword.
Didn't don't they say something about it being like not a full grown dragon or something like that? Or am I making
Yeah.
that up?
Yeah, I think there's something. There was like a sentence enticing.
Yeah. Just like in the Martyra dungeon where Heisman's like, I mean, like, dog, if you were badass, you could fight.
oh yeah, when he said
Oh
that, he was
my
like,
God.
oh, well,
I
we might
hated
be
that
able to
fight.
triumph. And I was like, if there's no might about it, I'm ride or
plus
die.
5 max HP.
That
Okay.
fight sucked.
That fight sucked.
But I don't know. I thought the way they wrote the sort of warning from Gaius with the dragon was equally enticing. I can see how you would have taken it like, oh, I can't fight him, but I just like walked on up there, and it was cool
I
because
was like, I want to get one shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, as possible, pretty
Yeah.
much.
and I was like, I don't know if you guys experienced this, but like when I was a kid and I was playing EverQuest and I would go up on like high mountains and shit, I would feel like vertigo in real life, like kind of how you do when you're like afraid of heights. You kind of feel that in your stomach.
Yeah, feeling your
I-
nuts.
Yeah, like so, but sort of same idea. When I was fighting that dragon, I was like, damn, I'm kind of nervous. Like this guy's got hands, you know. It's I'm having to try, and it felt cool, you know.
Yeah.
That's actually what sold me within the demo.
Oh yeah, nice.
I didn't know that. Well, maybe next time. Maybe when I play ReFantazio, the Golden Edition, I'll try that out.
ReFantazio.
Yeah, ReFantazio.
I wanted to share that my favorite dungeon was definitely the Dragon Temple.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Something
Oh, so good.
something that I think you might be able to appreciate, Colin, is did you hear about how, like, or did you even notice, I guess, that it was like super Etrian Odyssey, like, pilled?
I wanted to talk about that too, Dark.
Not in real time, but I can definitely see that.
Like, they literally had FOEs, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
enemies walking around when you did, and they had those corridors, and maybe Holden, you wanted to share what you knew about it too?
Oh, just doing a light reading to see if there are any major MacGuffins that I missed was that the final floor when you're in the skyscraper part of that dungeon.
Mhm.
That is a 1-to-1 of the final level of Etrian Odyssey.
Yeah,
Huh.
Which Etrian Odyssey?
one.
The first
Oh, cool.
entry.
I guess
Wow.
it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. That's
like
still
like
cool, though.
even with everything being like on top of Tokyo and everything, like that was all straight up just from Etrian Odyssey 1.
Yeah, and I think there's a really interesting. Sorry, Darth, did you want to elaborate on that?
No,
anymore?
no. That's
think
all
that's
I wanted to say.
The craziest discovery for me because I've been having this weird thought cooking since I started the game, especially with the game being called Metaphor, being fictional, it being a video game medium. It's too on the nose with certain things, intentionally so in my opinion, and that was like the cherry on top for solidifying this thought, which is like, and this is off the top of my head, you got the Majora's Mask Moon with the face, right? You got Marth lookalike Mr. Prince. You have Griffith from Berserk. You got these Attack on Titan, like treating the humans
Yeah.
similarly. I know there were a million others, but that's like
It's a
it
great
works
point.
way too good for me. It works way too well because how else are you gonna write this fictitious story to tap into quote unquote gamers
Yeah, it's like the
and
broader-
have it be its own thing while also extrapolating on stuff that people are gonna make the most sense of, like fucking nerds who talk in book clubs, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yep.
that just seems way too intentional for me.
I still think that part, when you do like those, I really like those, the things that Nurse sketches, like that you do for,
Mhm.
shit, I'm blanking on her name. The little girl, was it Maria or something?
The
Yeah,
cleric.
Maria.
And just thought it was like so cool. Like whenever you'd visit those, just the art, they always look so cool. But then there was that
Yeah.
one when I'm like, this looks like the Kingdom of Zeal. And it talks about how they're advanced and how they could have fallen apart. And I swear to God, that music, like I know Holden, you said it was used somewhere else, but I was
Dude, I
like,
forgot about that
this
one.
fucking sounds like the Kingdom of Zeal music.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that was coincidence. I will die on that hill.
I totally agree.
Dude, I think that with all the other things Holden was saying, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they might even be trying to speak on like the nature of fiction and how pretty much anything that gets made is just a recombination of other things.
That,
You know what I mean?
that encapsulates my thought way better. Totally agree.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a thing. Like all of those like kind of strange little landmarks to me, kind of, now that I think about it, they may have all been like references in a sense to other things, you know, to like other works of fiction that inspired the game in the first place, or just inspires, like, you know, JRPGs to this day. Stuff like Chrono Trigger, right? Stuff like Etrian Odyssey, you know. And I mean, like, you know, like, I mean, even multiple of the archetypes are like based on, you know, like other Atlas games, like the Persona Master, the Soul Hacker, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they were literally called Soul Hacker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
and like
the fact that they're literally called archetypes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think now that the more we keep talking about it, the more I'm convinced that what you're saying is right, Holden. That it's very intentional. And
yeah, and how do you celebrate these things while being so on the nose while making your own new thing? And they did it, and that's why Metaphor landed so well with me.
Absolutely, it's like it's central to the theme of, or one of the themes, which is that of fiction itself. So it totally works out, and it doesn't just come off as being like kind of like fan servicey, kind of like, hey, look, we like this game too.
Yeah, and going full circle, that's why I roll my eyes when people are like, this game's too on the nose. It's just another JRPG.
Yeah. Totally.
Speaking of things it draws from, can we talk about how it's this perfect blend of Persona 4, turn-based, SMT, press turn,
Job
Final
system
Fantasy
having...
5 job systems? Like, somebody was in my brain and looking at like what my perfect like JRPG makeup would be, and like we're just like, yeah, let's throw some active like combat in the world, like where you can get the jump, but it's kind of fun and you can fight things and like break them. Like,
you know that game Earthbound that only Holden likes? Let's throw in some of those mechanics too.
Girthbound.
Ooh.
No, sounds cool.
I honestly love how
Sounds
they
so
brought
sick.
the one shot over leveled field stuff back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
JRPGs need to be expediting that.
Absolutely. That's great. I will say there were parts of the game that had me really frustrated with the overworld combat. Usually just around those like crystals, essentially. You know what I mean? Because you'd be like, oh, okay, I want to kill the crystal, but anytime like a fucking ranged enemy shoots me, I just die.
I'm gonna get game overed by getting ambushed.
Yeah, and for the most part, it worked really well. I think it just like, you know, it's kind of their first time really playing with it. I think so.
Where you have to like resist the 8-brain urge to grind for 20 minutes every time you see a crystal.
Dude, I just couldn't.
Oh.
It's weird.
Give me that MP, baby. Give me that MP. Yeah. Yeah, the job. What do you guys think of the job systems in general? Like, did you enjoy monkeying with them?
I did.
Absolutely.
I definitely did.
It was
Yeah.
super engaging.
It's really fun looking down all the trees and being like, "Ooh, I could get this almighty bonus,"
Yeah,
and then maybe if I go
love it.
general, I can get the almighty bonus from the front row. I don't remember what it worked like, but I remember just looking down all the trees and the game would throw me a new weapon or something. I completely changed my how I was gonna build, and it was really fun.
Yeah, originally I took issue with like I felt like once you unlocked a class, it should be unlocked for everybody, like how
Mm.
a lot of games did that. But then it hit me later in the game that if it did that, you would just have the most like ungodly min-max party ever. Like there's no
Yeah,
investment in
totally.
anything. And I was like, okay, I see why they did that. But just in the beginning, it was
Mhm.
like, oh fuck, now I gotta level
I
this
agree.
up, but I gotta do that. But no, I
Yeah.
definitely got it by the end.
And they help you along too, right? They even
Oh,
when
the
you max a
leaves.
class out,
Yeah.
like thank fucking god, what an amazing development on the class system in video games as a whole.
Yeah.
That like you get to avoid that, like, okay, one of my like everyone's playing as these stupid fucking gooner classes, so we're just gonna suck ass.
Because you don't
Instead
want to
you
waste experience.
yeah. Exactly.
Bro, I
Instead you can
still
just
did
play.
that despite knowing that. I don't know what's
Yeah,
wrong
I
with
know,
my
right?
brain.
Me too. Like me too. Straight up, I'd be like, okay, I'll keep like my mage as like a level 20 mage, but you know, 2 of my characters will be like absolutely useless, even though there's literally no reason.
God, I
Actually,
did that
zero
and
reason.
saved all my items for the end. I don't know what's up with that,
Well,
man.
and then you're like Danny. You get to the end of the game and you look in your inventory and you have 99.
99. I'm like, oh
leaves of
fuck,
light,
how many
and
items
you
did I have? 99.
Oh
you
god,
you
dude.
literally said, "Wait, how long have I had 99 of these?"
99.
Oh, and it takes so much XP to finish off the final archetypes.
Oh yeah, it does.
What was your guys' favorite archetype? Like, was there one that you felt that you just really liked the design of, or like the abilities of, or?
For the most of the game, it was warrior. But that
Yeah.
was also because I thought Stroll as a character was cool and I associated it with him. But the art and the moves were neat. But at the end, it was the berserker, just how badass it was.
Trying to remember.
Yeah, Berserker was pretty cool. I remember getting it and it finally scratched that monkey brain itch of just like, here's big damage physical attack. And I was like,
Right.
yes.
Well, it
Yeah.
does what Warrior had done for most of the game, but
Mhm.
Warrior starts to fall off and be more like almost like if you're talking
All-rounder.
Elden Ring Souls game, it's like a quality kind of as opposed to pure
Mm.
strength.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I felt like they did a good job of varying like the end because Warrior and Berserker could have been, and then Swordmaster and Giga Berserker, like whatever. They could have been super samey and like, well, why would I do this? I could just do that. But they each had their like kind of like appeal, which was pretty cool. Which I feel
Yeah,
like they definitely drew on both SMT and Persona like abilities to think like, okay, how can we shuffle that into a job system and make these cool jobs? And they did a really good job.
Totally. Absolutely, they did. I think probably my favorite one was probably the trickster one, because Vidyartha is absolutely fucking busted.
Busted.
Like I think the stat downs were maybe a bit too strong in this game, to
Yeah,
be
they
honest.
You
Like,
could overwhelm enemies with them.
oh,
really good.
absolutely. It like if an enemy was like, "Oh, fucking cast like Dekunda," I'd be like, "Fucking Vidyartha, bitch. What are you gonna do? Cast it again? Good, waste a turn." It's
Exactly.
like the I think what was it, 3 levels? I think that was a bit much. I think 2 even might have been a bit much. I think it works a bit better when you don't have to like play this complicated game of like dealing with 3 levels of 3 different stats. I think it
Yeah.
just made it too strong, to be honest.
Vidyartha was 2 strength and evasion, right?
2 strength and
Or
defense,
Defense, yeah,
Yeah.
even better.
which is the only ones that really matter.
I think adding in multiple ranks debuff was a little like I see why they did it because on the flip side, it sucked in SMT and Persona where you're at like, okay, now it takes me 4 turns to get something really debuffed. And then like so I see that, but also at the flip side, it kind of made it so if they're the enemy, if they don't Dekunda, like you get owned, and then vice versa. Like if it happens to you, you had to do it too. Like,
Totally.
so it's like it's an interesting. Like I prefer it kind of the other way, where debilitate is the end all be all because it was just one rank to all, and that was super
Yeah.
powerful. but introducing ones that were multiple ranks just like fucking turned it on its head.
Totally.
Did you guys all finish as Prince on the protagonist?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was
Once I
doing
learned that it deals with magic.
disgusting
I
damage.
think I stuck Elemental Master. I couldn't bring myself to do Prince because even though you get the Omega ability, it still wasn't doing as much damage with the
Yeah.
high belt.
The arc.
For
It's
me-
kind of
for me-
interesting.
Survivability. I just couldn't resist being fucking strong against everything.
Oh, as Prince, yeah.
Yeah, that was it for me. I was like, a little bit of damage for that many resistances is worth it.
Also, it still did stupid damage with Almighty Boost.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Like when I
absolutely.
would crit things for like 46,000 or 80,000, I was like,
Yeah.
For the
GG's.
final boss fight, I forgot to switch back to Elemental Master. So even though I wanted to be, had to do it as a Prince because I just forgot to switch back.
Yeah. Plus, he was a human at the end, technically, wasn't he?
it's a good
Right. So you
question.
get like the bonus to the
Maybe.
damage.
I don't know if he
Probably.
was. I mean, if he was an Elda, technically, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
If we're getting lore accurate.
I think
I'll give
with
it you.
everything we're talking about with the player power, you know, and how flexible the job system is and how buff you can get, I think the only way to make the game modestly challenging was to have Dragon Eye or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And they just spam it because, like, what else are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there is no other way to. How does the press turn system showcase difficulty? Like, how is it difficult? It's just turn economy. And
Yeah.
you have so much more power than they do, right?
Mm.
Without those abilities.
I'm gonna
Totally.
try SMT 5 Vengeance, and because I'm hearing good things about that.
Yeah,
and I
we're
feel
gonna
like
have to
that's
have
a good
well,
example.
Weeb edition book club when we finally get around to playing that.
Mm. I'm like 7-8% of the way through that game, and it's definitely been better, much better than the first iteration. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Equipment, guys, I fucking love the equipment system in this game. Like,
Yeah.
it was so much more engaging than any like SMT Persona equipment system. in
Well,
the
because it
past.
gave you loot levels, it gave you loot lust.
Yeah,
The
it
first
was
time you
sick.
saw a pink item, you're like, oh my god.
Holy fuck! You open up a chest and the golden sparkle comes out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, pretty
You,
great.
you know the first pink item you get in the game, Danny,
Oh, don't say that.
from
Don't.
killing that dragon, dude.
Fuck.
You get that fire
Fuck.
sword, and Stroll just like fucks everything up in that first dungeon.
dang it, dude. Whatever. I was a mage anyways. I couldn't have used it.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was. I already mentioned this in the beginning, but it was an exceptional blend of Western elements in a JRPG. I'm still obsessed with just bringing Diablo identifiable items back, even if it wasn't Diablo random loot, just identifying it to
Mhm.
get better stats.
Oh yeah, and
You
just
don't
like
get to use it right away in the dungeon.
that
It's
little
very
bit of a
simple.
gamble, like because you could just get garbage items, but man, one time you might have found a pretty nasty item.
Mm-hmm. That's very fun. Really,
Yeah.
really like the gearing.
Yep.
I was going through my menus quite a bit, changing stuff in and out.
Yeah, consistently I change things around, especially in the end game when you've got like you're shifting it around for the purpose of like dealing with certain bosses like the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I found the dragons pretty fucking hard for the
Yeah.
most
Yep.
part. Like,
Oh,
they
Dark
were
Charlie
definitely
was
not
so
easy.
annoying. How he has that instant kill you based off
Yeah,
of if you
that's
have
so
like a
dumb.
reflect on or something.
Yeah, that was stupid. I honestly found the fire dragon to be the hardest fight because I didn't know that you could just like you could just like repel its attack and kill it instantly. That shit was hard.
Yeah.
What? You can, huh?
Yeah, if you make it weak to fire, whenever it does its insta-kill fire move, you just reflect it back, and it takes like 40k damage like 4 times or something.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, you just instantly kill it. But notwithstanding that, if you didn't know that, it was fucking hard.
I
Yeah.
think I can't tell if I struggled more with the fire or the poison.
Yeah, the Dark
dragon.
Dragon was, I feel like, the one that.
Yeah, I don't know. Those
Pissed
were all
me off.
cakewalks for me, but I also played way
Alright,
too
buddy.
much and over leveled.
So, Holden,
Hmm.
you said you didn't like the Dark Donnie fight because of that reflect thing.
Yeah.
Like, so not defending it, but that is literally just par for the course for the super bosses of these SMT style games.
I remember watching you. You caught on fast.
Yeah,
And I was like, where did you have that inkling? I
yeah,
didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Oh, this shit again.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, okay, it's like that. And so I thought that fight was really cool, but it also became very coin flippy near the end, which
Yeah.
was very frustrating. But because it was like, uh-oh, am I gonna get status affected here? And it's like you couldn't guard against everything.
But
Yeah.
it was thank God the game had its super boss and all that leading up to extra stuff because that was really cool altogether.
Yeah, I love a good end game ass kicking.
I think the game would have improved if it maybe shifted the very final like boss's difficulty based on if you did all of the super bosses before him. You know what I mean? Because he
Yeah.
was underwhelming
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
in
that's
every
pretty-
possible way.
Then again, you could also
Standard.
do Luis without killing any of his like human jobbers, and I think the fight gets much more complicated.
Oh, does it? Interesting.
Yeah, like you can leave all the mini bosses up and just go right for him.
But they had all the legendary weapons. I was not gonna fucking-
yeah.
Yeah,
I had to fight them, man.
I saw achievement for that and went, dang it, dude.
Oh,
And also,
There we go.
I think, Holden, you mentioned this. I think locking the hardest difficulty behind New Game Plus both makes sense and also sucks because, like, I looked up like the math of what it changes, and I think it makes you take 3 times more damage for weaknesses, and your offense is it's like it's still fine, but you don't get as much bonus damage for doing hitting weaknesses on bosses. So like basically,
And I
it
think they get
stacks
2
against
press
you.
turns, right? Instead of the 1 from hard, or maybe I'm tripping.
So you just
Yeah.
instantly die if you get hit by anything.
anything.
So it's
Which is
even
basically
more,
how the game already is, really.
right. It's even more swingy, but I feel like when I played like an hour and a half of a Regicide playthrough, and I assume the scaling catches up with you, but I was just like, I 2-shot the dragon in the mines, like literally to hit him twice, and he died.
Like on
Oh,
New Game Plus
so-
Regicide
yeah,
or
New Game
New
Plus.
Game?
New Game Plus Regicide.
Oh, okay.
Because you have all your gear and your levels, right? Or at least the gear or something. So like so the curve is off. But I feel like if you had that experience of Regicide on a new game, it would be really hard and maybe satisfying, maybe too hard. I don't know.
You know what's really
Yeah.
interesting? Like, so does the weak point damage, is it only applied to you or is it in general?
You mean like taking triple damage?
Yeah.
It's only when, as far as I know, I read it once 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I think it's only when enemies hit you.
Hit you,
You do less weakness damage than you do in regular hard mode.
So what's funny is Merciless in Persona 5, and I think in Royal as well, they fucked it up because, like, well, they didn't fuck it up. They meant to do it, but it's flat. So it's both you and bosses.
Mm-hmm.
So in a weird way, when you're a min-maxy bitch, like with all your resistances, it makes the game so much easier.
So you just murk them.
Like, so people have talked about how the Okumura fight is
Yeah.
so much harder on hard or very hard because the damage numbers are lowered. So you cannot, like, killing his fucking little robot guys is a nightmare. But
Yeah,
then if
'cause
you
it's
go up
under
to
a time
Merciless,
constraint.
you one-shot them. So it's just like,
totally.
so it kind of fucked
That's
the
funny.
difficulty scaling. So I'd be interested to see if they just tilted that towards you and were like, deal with it.
I think
Sounds like
that's
they
what it
did.
is.
Sounds like that's what they did. Which is probably fine. I mean, it's good that it's hard, but I feel like probably still though, like, you know, it's probably hard. But then once you get past like the mid game and get into like the late mid game, probably
beat that
just start
bird.
killing everything. Yeah, actually though, that's probably like one of the that was probably about as hard as like the poison dragon was for me. That fucking bird fight, that thing fucks. Even if you know what you're doing.
Fuck that bird.
What did you guys think about the epilogue of the game? Because it was something that I really actually
Oh,
liked.
that was a surprise.
I thought it was an excellent epilogue.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember
and goes on
Donnie
an
being like,
adventure,
all right,
maybe.
it's about to end. Well, yeah, surely, Donnie. Any second, huh?
Then I had a whole nother stream's worth of epilogue.
It was fucking sick. I loved it. I felt like it like closed the last couple pages so satisfyingly. I didn't have that like JRP depression at the end of playing it.
Yeah, I agree. It did kind of curb the depression, huh?
Oh shit! Do you
I
know what
was
I'm
like,
just realizing looking over the gameplay footage? Look where Charlie is when he gets his
In the
archetype.
Sanctum, bro.
He's in the
Yeah.
the Elder Sanctum,
Oh, how did I not notice
where
that? What the heck?
the prince is.
Come on, Holden, pay attention.
Dang it, man.
Dang it.
Reading
This was so
comprehension is a
long
muffin, though.
ago. This is like 140 hours of gameplay before, let alone the months. Oh,
No,
can
then
I
they'll-
talk
yeah.
about? Oh, pardon.
No. You go.
I like
I-
the epilogue before we move on. It was
Yeah.
great. Speaking of not flanderizing your characters, even up to the epilogue, the characters are still progressing and their personalities matter.
But yeah, like they fit their
Mhm.
roles that they got applied into
Yeah.
like their post game.
And the gang goes off on another fucking adventure, and it's just like a happy ending, you know?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Sorry.
What were you
Holden,
gonna say,
go ahead.
Holden?
Oh, no, I would have felt bad if I cut that off because it's a complete tangent. But I want to finally talk about my weird artistic triangle thought. The floating triangles throughout the whole game.
Oh yeah.
What's the theming behind that to you guys? I want to ask you guys that. If there's anything there beyond just pretty triangles for you guys.
Oh shit. It's
Okay.
like
I'm not trying to interrupt that thought, but how many of us thought that the archetype was giant in this cutscene?
Oh yeah, me. I did. I was like, oh my god, it's Gundam now, dude.
He's the fucking
Yeah.
Megazord, bro.
And then it was just regular size. I was like, wait, what? I guess I don't know. Did I really not look into it that much? Because everything's really like angular in the game. Like
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
How literal are you talking, Holden? Like, because the NPCs talk
Any
about
amount.
Magma
It could
all
be
the time.
literal or like the vision or what, you know.
Well, I think literally in world that's supposed to be the Magla fragments, right?
Mhm.
So there's that. I think just spitballing here, looking at it, it looks like broken glass.
Mhm.
So like, what is glass? You can look at it like, oh, it's the glass of like a prism or a lens through which you see things, right? And it's sort of shattered, you know, in the game for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good.
if I can just say something, I mean,
Please.
if I had to guess, like, I mean, triangles are typically like wrong shapes, so there might be something going on there. That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know. I'm ready to be told though.
I think this is very out there thinking, but it was just something I was obsessed about seeing them constantly floating in the game. The themes around the Magla, but if this is a work of fiction, which it obviously is, in a video game, we all know video games, 3D models are made up of little triangles, right? Even a quad, a square, is made up of 2 triangles.
Okay.
I really think, going back to our discussion about a game as a medium, as a piece of art, or its culmination of mediums, there's something screaming about the triangles and it being made out of triangles that
Right.
Deconstructed
resonated
polygons.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the building blocks of everything you see around you at its like most base form.
Yeah. So it's
Interesting.
kind of an out
Bingo.
there thought, but I don't know, it's cool.
No,
At
that
the
is
very least, the
interesting.
pretty triangles floating around.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of any other reason why they would be triangles, not like something else. That's cool. That's my headcanon now.
Official
if-
headcanon.
I think just
Another
the way
just-
that this game, the way the game sets itself up and it is framed, and it makes perfect sense. You know, I don't think it's very out there at all. Actually, I think it's just a great observation.
I like that. Appreciate that. Another fun one, I talked about this in Donnie's stream, but looking at the background art right now, you'll see at the top of some of the dragon towers, like, really crappy, generic video game cloud shaders. But this game opted to do these, like, not only Van Gogh-esque paintings, especially in the city where Baron's from, or whatever his name is.
Barden.
Pardon.
It's Martira.
Yes. Some of the backgrounds look so oil painting like,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that they opted to do those Ocarina of Time static skyboxes rotating around, whereas today that's just seen as like low budget, shitty quality game. They did that for the artistic expression, and it's just one of those things that sells the fiction so well for me. Being immersed in the world. Somehow they turned like the quote unquote bad graphics into something purposeful. which I love.
Yeah.
There's so many things like that.
Yeah, I
throughout the
feel like
game.
every piece of art in this game was purposeful. Like, there's
Mhm.
not one bit.
I think it's just, to your point, it's like reality is fiction here.
Yeah,
Or fiction is reality, you know? Which
totally.
it is later on in the game. At least from our perspective. What we're saying is fiction, but it is their reality.
So what do you guys think? Speaking of that, fiction is reality. What do you guys think of that like, kind of twist? Like, oh, the king. Oh, I made the book, so like you could get away
Yeah.
from the evil reality. Like, come live
Yeah.
in my fictional utopia. It's like, I don't know. That, if anything, felt ham-fisted and like kind of like it was that, like that being the very end. I was like,
I agree. That was one of the qualms that I wrote down, was that the twists, most of the twists, to be honest, kind of felt like they weren't really that impactful. I can't really describe why, but that one and most of the twists I found were not like really that impactful or important in the long run about how I felt about the game and the story.
like I like the dragon tower, like the big reveal, like when you're looking outside the dragon tower and you're like, wait a minute, this is like Shibuya or whatever. Like, this is the beginning of the game, like the title intro sequence. It's like, oh shit, this is that. And that was cool. But it just,
That was the only one that I even like cared about, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it lacked a little impact for me, but that moment in the story was so important for the rest of the game not feeling so flat.
Yeah, I agree.
And I really love that it tied back the one of the best songs in the game. When Gallica says, "Hey, let me play you a little diddle, a little song," and then she turns on the music and magic is power. It's like the theme right in the beginning of the game, and then brings that song back.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, I gotta go on detail rant. That is one of 2 songs, if I recall, in the game where there's both the female and male vocalists.
Oh yeah, like when it
I like
when it
to
kicks
think
in for real.
I like to think of the male vocalists as being the king, because you hear that in the battle music, the last dungeon, the right, and then you
that
hear
song.
the female vocals when you're like in the airship cruising around. It's beautiful. It's the discovery. And when you think about the late queen sacrificing herself to be this ethereal guiding magic, Gallica shows up, blah blah blah. Those themes play really well with the songs with female vocalists, and vice versa for the male vocalists. I think
Interesting, I
it's
never
really
noticed
cool
that.
that song features both male and female vocalists.
Yeah.
That is cool. That's a very astute observation. Very cool.
We could just talk about how all the music fucking slaps.
Oh my god.
It's
I
really
wish
good.
that I wasn't only ever ambushing people, because the one that plays when it's just like a regular like fight is so much better.
It is a really good song.
Like the one where where the monk immediately just starts hitting the fucking mic. I love that shit.
He's spitting.
Live footage
Yeah,
of the
literally.
rap god on the battle theme.
I wanna-
Literally.
I want to talk about the music, but I want to hear more about what you didn't like about that reality is fiction last.
Yeah.
Andy.
pardon.
Well, it just felt like a lot of it was like they needed this big like downturn final battle. You're losing, because that's a big SMT Persona thing. Like
Yeah.
where it's like, no, all hope is lost. All your adventure was for nothing. And
You hear
like,
that? It's your friends' voices.
over, yeah, and then it's like boom,
That's
no.
anime though.
I have so that's why it was just too like tropey. But like I understand within said trope like what they were doing like within their own story. Like Holden was saying like that the fiction is reality, reality is fiction, like that. So like I still appreciate that part. It was just too okay, here's the moment where we we find the light within us and we're reinvigorated and we can take down anyone.
So
It's still so much better than some generic Star Ocean.
True.
My reality's
Oh,
not
yeah.
real.
Oh god.
so it was more like the aspect of it that it was the power of friendship that rubbed you the wrong way.
Yeah, it was like had it not played out in the like just so like generic hackneyed JRPG way.
The exact way you expected it to.
Yeah, Like, I
Like,
don't mind
yeah.
the plot point that it was, but it was just like the delivery of it was just
Okay.
so like, here's the fucking thing. Like, check the
Yeah,
box. We did it.
Does it help that you can game over in that discussion?
Yeah, so I did like that because when he was like, live with me, I'm like, can I just fucking.
You're like, cool, all right. But then you
Yeah,
got to do all
spicy.
that shit you just did again. You're like, I don't know that I care that much.
All right, later. Fuck you.
I like
reject
that
your
all
reality.
the bad endings are just like, oh, the book closed right here.
Damn,
I hope you
lose.
feel unsatisfied.
You made the bad choice,
Yeah.
big dummy.
I will.
I think. Sorry, just real quick. Maybe
Oh, go
maybe
ahead.
to not like to get on like Holden's level of like meta stoner thinking about this. Like the fact that this is no, and I mean that really. You've made some awesome points, and it's really interesting to think about. But like, so if this is a culmination of like the overall like consumer tapestry of fiction as that we as humans engage with, right? Like to have a Japanese anime inspired kind of source material or genetic material RPG, right? Video game, and to have this like power of friendship moment that could also be like a on the nose on purpose. I don't know that I necessarily buy that, but just like there could be something there. But also just like real quick on the delivery of the Moore / the king and how he's presenting this world, that he's trying to like trick you into thinking that this is reality. But I think like his character, the impetus for him kind of retreating into that world of fiction and fantasy in the inverse, you know, not reality for them. I think is actually really well done. Really makes a lot of sense for his character, for what was going on in the story at the time. Like his like wife died or whatever it was. You know, he couldn't cope with the reality, so
Yeah.
he made this fiction, which is our reality. You know, it's neat.
It's super neat.
So
Especially the progression of more
yeah,
remembering certain things,
Yeah.
but also like being at a loss for
yeah,
it
getting
until
like
it finally
shocked by
comes.
realizing.
That
Yeah, he
helped a
was
lot
he
for
was
me.
quite upset himself to learn the very disappointing reality had sort of conflicted with the different fantasies he had played in his head based on what he knew. You know what I mean? Maybe I was an adventurer, blah blah, but it turns out he's just a shell, really.
Yeah. And
Like
like,
a- yeah.
the letdown of his optimistic dreams. You know, I couldn't actually do what I wanted to do. I couldn't fix the world.
Mm.
So you know what?
Also,
Oh, go ahead.
pardon.
Holden. All right, go ahead.
Oh, I just think, just on that topic, as blunt as the game is, they do show the struggles certain ideologies have, especially toward the end with the late king and him being manipulated and all that. There is a lot of good lead up with details, I think.
I just thinking about it, like saying like, okay, they did the checkbox. We got our power. We're we're renewing our
We're
resolve.
refantasizing.
So yeah, we've our Fantasioed. Honestly, if it would have been the Luis fight, Giga God Luis, and then the book thing happened, I would have been way better with that. Like if it wasn't your crux, we can defeat the final boss moment. Like if you had just beaten him and then it led into like things falling, like okay, we beat him, but now things are still falling apart, and then
That's
it,
a
like,
really
transitioned
idea,
into
Donnie.
like, well, you beat the bad, but that's not going to get rid of the evil of the world. This is the true, like kind of like that, rather than use it for your moment. Like, oh no, this is our resolve. We can do everything.
Oh man, dude, this just reminds me of 9 and the true final boss and no lead up. It almost seems like they were trying to keep the build up and the pacing there rather than blindsiding the player at the end.
Are you talking about
But you have to
Nikon
do
or
it-
Ozma?
Not Ozma.
Yeah.
What's his name? It starts with an E.
Necron.
Necron.
Death dude.
X-Death.
X Death. Thank you. No, it's not X Death.
It's Necron.
It is
Oh,
Necron.
okay. I didn't hear you.
I was like, what? Am I
Yes.
getting gas station? What the hell's going on here?
My final boss of my favorite video game, Final Fantasy IX, X-Death, the tree.
That really messed me up. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. I wonder how that could have landed, Donnie. I like that.
Yeah, I just like I said, I didn't hate like the thing itself, I just hated as it being used as that moment.
I think that would have made a lot of sense. Actually, it could have been really cool because like the ultimate power in that world is the king archetype, and he was the king. So the only reason he like couldn't defeat and overcome whatever in world explanation is because he succumbed to despair, I guess, and anxiety. So like if they had tied that together, like damn, you beat the final boss, but now you got to deal with like this real shit.
Yeah,
you know,
like no man, this is the real shit.
that could have been cool.
Yeah.
You should write for video games, Donnie.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I'm on it. No, we've already determined I have to be the user interface bitch made complaining. All right. Well, we've had quite the conversation. I guess we can have our conclusion thoughts. I know Holden, you already ripped your number rating.
Oh, I didn't say the true number.
The true number.
5.5.
6.9.
I give it a croc out of 10.
Final Fantasy Tactics out of 10.
It could have been. No, but it's just like I've pretty much said my piece of it. It's just like huge fan of Atlas games. Like they, like I almost like an insta buy for me. Like mainline SMT, Persona, like they scratch an itch I love in video games, and to be completely fucking blindsided by this game that not only was one of those games but took what feels like most all the best pieces of what I love about those games and mixed in a few new ingredients like the active like overworld like combat thing, and then a job system, and then like breaking free of the story tropes of kid fighting God, siding with the devil or God or whatever, or high school bitch. Like it's so refreshing. I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, do I want them to do like a metaphor too? Yes. But would I be okay with them just leaving it as is? 200%. Because this game is fucking up there in my favorite games, which is crazy. Like I wouldn't say it dethroned Persona 4, but there's a lot of nostalgia and like first time SMT baked into that. But I would definitely say other than Persona 4, this is absolutely my favorite like SMT.
Donnie, that's
whatever.
crazy because through Book Club we've learned you kind of need like difficulty and engagement, and honestly this game kind of lacked that at times, so that's a crazy testament.
Yeah, it's just like, well, it had the engagement, it gave me the jobs, like I could fuck around and I could have made it as hard as I want if I didn't want to be a min-maxing job system bitch. So it's like I kind of got my choice, like, well, if I can't have difficulty, I can have my like nitty gritty, I want to do this build like that. So it gave me what I wanted in one way, shape, or form, which made it like, it's when I think of like any part of the game where I was like, ugh, like something that really didn't hit right. Yeah, the Luis fights, but that's such a nitpick, really. Like it's just a misstep. And then that anime moment, like it's not gonna ruin the game. It was just like, oh, they could have probably done that a little bit better. But it's just like nothing in the game was like I came across it. I was like, whatever. Which that's pretty rare in a game, and definitely, like this game's definitely a 9 out of 10. Like maybe even that fucking bird maybe saved it from a 9.25, but absolutely a 9 out of 10.
Here.
Sounds to me, Danny, like even though the game wasn't difficult, you were still able to have like knowledge / skill expression through its systems.
Yeah, like I got to have my fun, which is what I want from a video game.
Totally.
I want it to be enjoyable to play.
It's not like a Persona game where it's like, well, my characters are all pretty much, going to be the way they're going to be, and, didn't really have to monkey with them very much.
Yeah,
to
like, my other 3 party members. But yeah, so that's a good way of putting it. Like, because you have your MC, your Charlie, where you can build them however you want, and you can, I can do this build, like, whatever. But now you got that freedom with everyone. And then you got a team synergy with it. So you had your party synergy.
We didn't even talk about those. Those were cool, too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, those were cool. You're right. Like, just the game let me have fun with playing it, which a lot of games get bogged down in trying to guide you into how they want you to play it. This game gave you a skill set and a bunch of stuff to fuck around with, and was like, go for it.
Agreed.
Agreed. I can go next.
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, so I was also really impressed with this game. I was super engaged with it the whole time. I liked a lot of what it did with the story. I liked a lot of what it did with the gameplay. It basically mixed all of my favorite like Atlas SMT stuff with parts of games like Final Fantasy that I also really enjoyed. So it was really just kind of felt like it perfectly met me at the kind of mechanics and systems level. I honestly feel bad not giving it a higher score than I'm going to give it, because really it doesn't have much things in it that I dislike. I just do still feel like some of the story twists and beats didn't really resonate with me. It's like it felt more to me like the things that resonated with me most were the smaller moments, but those were still powerful too. And so just because there's a few things I didn't love about it, I think I want to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Like,
It's such a
really
good score
good.
for being critical.
Really good. Yeah, right? It's like, well, it's not a 9. I just don't think it's a 9. Like, there's still so many things that were like clumsy and that just had me kind of like frustrated or just cheesed.
ReFantazio Integrate R is gonna bring it up to a 9, I guarantee it.
Maybe so. But yeah, and there's not really much else for me to say, honestly, than what I've already said. It was a really good game, though. Really, really good game.
I love to hear it.
I love everything it did with the themes.
I want to go next, so you can have the final word, Holden.
Okay.
I'll be brief. So, I need to decide what I want to give it. It's either going to be a 9.25 or a 9.5. This game was really something for me. It was it's hard to say like, ooh, favorite RPG ever.
Yes, that's hard.
But it's like right there.
Yeah.
And
Well, I can see that.
the only reason I might not say that like hastily right here on the spot is because like, you know, I have so much nostalgia and fondness for like the early classics I grew up with, you know. 9.15, I'll take it. No, but literally everything about this was either as close to perfect as is practical or just like half a step below it, you know. Certain things are, as you said, Darth, clumsy, or it's a little long, if I'm honest. You know, I'm not so much a fan of like 100-hour RPGs these days. But then again, I loved every minute I played of this. It just took me like a month and a half or whatever to beat, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a haul. But like music, art, mechanics, super interesting. I love the story and the framing, and we didn't even talk about like utopias and dystopias, which is like a huge part of the framing of the book of the game itself. And it's too late, so I won't bore you with that. But it's just a very interesting game on all levels for me. So I think I am gonna go crazy. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Oh my goodness.
He did it.
Holy.
It is wonderful.
No.
Truly a great game.
This is on the secret menu of the book club scores.
No. Well, I feel like we kind of did miss like the utopia dystopia thing, but like it was really interesting, like how they'd read the book and like the characters would be like, wow, that does sound great. Like everybody has this, like, you know, everybody's a voice, everybody gets heard, and everybody does this, and it's just like, well, ideally that's how it works, and it's just like, well.
And people in metaphor being like, there's no way that could work out.
Yeah.
I love that.
And they're right.
Yeah.
Just to give you my very quick high level thoughts on a utopia and a dystopia is that they're really the same thing. You can't have a utopia without totally removing what makes the human experience what it is.
Yeah.
And you can't have a utopia without removing choice from people's lives and having choice and the inherent chaos of that, and what makes our lives what they are and our perception of the world what it is.
You make your choices
can't-
down your archetype, your path.
Right, exactly. You can't. The only way to have something be perfect is to remove variables, and to remove variables is to remove control and choice and expression and identity and autonomy. So
Yeah.
that's me.
No.
Beautifully well said.
Yeah, definitely a very,
Very well
doinker,
said.
like overarching plot point of the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold
Yeah,
it. Let it rip.
I think it's stuff like that that made this game feel exceptionally fresh, despite being littered with tropes and even sometimes mechanics that I didn't like. But yeah, no, I'm actually so surprised. We had so many good conversations come out of this, and it's funny because I think those tropes that bothered me so much in the beginning, on my first playthrough, really smoothed out with time, which is atypical for my experience in games. Usually, as time goes on, I lower my score. Except for when we're being really critical in this last book club recap, but that's besides the point. Usually, especially with JRPGs, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, the Xenoblade music kicked in. He's gonna slice this enemy," and then I'm like, "Whoa, yeah!" And then half a year goes by. I'm like, "Dang, why was I getting hyped over
That
that?
shit was
That's really
cringe,
Yeah,
bro.
that was
Super
cringe.
But Metaphor, it's gone the opposite direction, where I keep thinking about it, and it keeps being more and more relevant. And boy howdy, coming out of a game like that, and its themes still being relevant in my daily life, like practicing patience, empathy, blah blah blah. That's pretty hard to do with a jaded customer like myself. So, the things that were like critical points for me kind of turned into this game's strong points for me. The way it treats these tropes and made a new story out of itself, and it's still thought provoking. And I think I'm really curious how it's gonna keep holding up for me, because I still think about it compared to a lot of other games I played last year. And it has its qualms, but yeah, 9 out of 10, loved it.
Yeah. Man, it's funny. I feel like that epilogue that we talked about, it does, like, it feels like do they do Metaphor do re mi Fantazio and just
shit.
add on to the
Dang.
epilogue there, and
With whimsy this time.
like just have have a little bit there, or do they run with this? Like, do they make Metaphor a series? But I don't know. Like, even if they don't do a Golden or Reload or whatever, like, perfect. Like, just leave it as is. It was what it was, which I think speaks in and of itself.
If I may say something kind of pessimistic and negative, I do think they'll milk the shit out of it.
Oh,
because they do
absolutely.
that with everything.
Oh, yeah,
There's gonna
yeah.
be ReFantazio fucking dancing at the ballroom all night,
Absolutely.
and it's just like, yeah,
It'll be bad.
that's definitely gonna happen, 100%.
But
You just gotta ignore all those,
Yeah, just pretend that they don't exist. Don't fucking buy them.
or buy them.
Stop buying them.
I'm buying them. Can't stop me. All right.
Give them to Guglag so he has to play them and gets angry.
I'm on it. But yeah, that's. I'm glad we were able to get back together for another pseudo long game. Shame. Well, not a shame. Like, we didn't have the full cast because obviously all of our tastes are different. We can't fit in 100-hour JRPG and everything.
For everyone, mandatory
Right,
100-hour
exactly.
JRPG.
Yeah.
So, but it was good that like we all played and enjoyed this game to kind of fit it into book club as well, because the discussion was fantastic. Because this is a game that deserves being spoke about. Like, if you like JRPGs, if you like SMT, if you like Persona, fucking check it out. It's probably on sale for like 50% off. Wait for a spring sale. But Atlas, please sponsor me. I'll show your games. That's what I'm saying.
Our what do they call it? Famitsu? No. Yeah, is that the Japanese magazine that does the 4 judges?
Yeah.
Our Famitsu score for this is a 36.
Yeah, not 38. Please.
It's a 9.9, 8.5, and a 9.5. That's 36.
Yeah, but Darth, we always got to round up his.
Oh.
It's called the perfect dark incident.
Sometimes
Well, we gotta
it
round yours
takes
up.
a little time.
Yeah. Obviously, tactics.
There's been a few incidents.
All right. Well,
Time without incidents.
we'll
Zero,
have to get
0 minutes.
into the next incident when we get back to book club in earnest with the full cast and crew. We'll have Chris and Super back on the job to talk about Nox. I remembered it. So there will be no wheel spinning. We know what the game is.
Spin that.
I know, don't spin that wheel. But we'll be back for the real grass-fed, honest edition of Seriously Casual Video Game Book Club in like a month, probably. Isn't it slated? End of March?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was April, whatever. I don't know.
The end of something. So look forward to that. But for now, Colin, Holden, Darth, thanks for joining me. Thanks for talking about what was a surprise hit banger. Turned out to be one of my favorite games. Metaphor, ReFantazio. And I'm glad we all had a game we enjoyed so much, unlike those shitty games we play on that wheel. No, I'm just kidding.
That's so true, though. Likewise, GG's boys.
Yeah,
All right.
GGs.
I'll catch you guys later.
Adios.
Adios.
Okay, bye.
And everybody in the live studio audience, thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out. Like I said, not even kind of joking and slightly kind of not joking. Since this is a newer release, like, hey, if you like JRPGs, you want to support Fatless, you could do worse than playing Metaphor. But we'll be back next month for the real deal. Seriously Casual presents Nox. But until then, catch everybody later.